Welcome to ARC360 On Demand. Brought to you in association with corporate partners BASF, BMS, CAPS, Copart, Emax, Integral, Enterprise Rent-A-Car, Merca, Nationwide Vehicle Recovery Assistance, S&G Response, and Sherwin-Williams, along with our partners Aztec, the Green Part Specialists, Indasa, Innovation Group, and Prasco UK. We hope you enjoy the show.
Hi, my name's Mark Hadaway and welcome to ARC360 On Demand. In this episode, we catch up with Kev Thompson, Commercial Manager at CAPS, who provides an update on the CAPS data which has supported the industry throughout the pandemic. He also provides a bit of an update into new developments within the platform. We talk apprenticeships in the Hot Topics section with Steve Thompson, AutoRaise Vice Chairman, and Chris Weeks, AutoRaise Trustee. The pair provide the latest insights into engagement with new industry entrants and also highlight the importance that everyone plays their role. And we chat with Jordan Fisher, Managing Director at Axiom UK, who recently invited me to their HQ in Peterborough to see the operation at work. Axiom's approach to and philosophy around vehicle repair is well worth finding out more about. And many thanks for all the kind messages of support for episode 1. We'd love to hear any feedback you have to help us to continue to improve. In the meantime, enjoy the show. So, you've done an incredible job keeping the industry informed over the past 15 months or so with the CAPS claims analysis. Could you just give us a little bit of an update in terms of what's happening with that at the moment?
So at the moment, we continue to measure on a weekly basis. One of the things that we have seen, though, certainly in the last month, let's say 4 weeks, is we've seen the data jumping around quite a bit, and primarily due to the number of bank holidays we've had. And I don't know whether it's because we're all working from home. We look forward to that bank holiday, but we just seem to have had a lot more bank holidays than what's felt like normal. And what happens is, because the data that we measure is claims that are being exchanged, not necessarily new claims, means that we end up where there's a bank holiday, we end up with a lull, and then we end up with a surge of exchanging claims where insurance companies are processing those claims. They're exchanging them with body shops, and then body shops equally are then returning updates and starting to communicate with the wider supply chain. So we've very much seen a quite an aggressive ebb and flow. And to be honest, we took the decision really to move to more of a macro measurement, because we felt that the micro measurement on a weekly basis wasn't going to give the right indication of the way the industry's performing with regards to claims up or down.
Okay, great stuff. And so in terms of that, and it's probably a little bit too soon, I suppose, we're just into in June, but what was the month of May essentially look like?
So we always cut the data on the last day of the month. At the moment, the weekly information that we've been accumulating in the background is indicating certainly the last 2 weeks has shown an increase. So we're optimistic that we may be back to 80% of the pre-pandemic volumes, which I think is a fair assumption to say, because a lot of other people are starting to talk about that level of return.
Excellent news, and that will be very welcome across the industry, I'm sure. So kind of, I suppose moving away from the data a little bit, what's happening in the world of CAPS right now?
Yeah, so I know it seems selfish to say, but we've done exceedingly well throughout 2020. I know a lot of businesses have struggled, and I do feel for those businesses. We, as a service, a data service provider or data exchange platform, we've seen a surge of body shops and also insurance work providers wanting to integrate with CAPS, because I think what people have realised is that this pandemic isn't a light switch. We know there's going to be some repercussions going forward, and we know already that there's news telling us that we've got isolated peaks again with this new variant. So I think we're in this pandemic scenario for the long haul. But I think what that's done is it's focused people's attention, business owners and operational managers, that actually let data do the heavy lifting. And by that, I mean making sure that you're integrated, your system is communicating with your work providers and supply chain. And to do that, CAPS is fulfilling that service. So as I say, we've seen probably a 20-25% growth in body shops throughout 2020 connecting to CAPS or wanting to use CAPS. And equally, those companies that use CAPS to deploy work and or receive updates, we've seen a growth in that as well.
Fantastic news all round. And again, a little bit of an insight, I suppose, what's for the future? Arguably difficult to predict at the moment, but what's for the future of CAPS, if you like?
It's really exciting time at the moment. We've got some great developments coming through. We've got a great team in the background that unfortunately the industry doesn't see, but we all benefit from. We've got some developments coming through in June, which is going to enhance our parts quote functionality. So those body shops that are able to connect to CAPS, which automates the estimate coming into their management system, and then equally that sends an electronic quote to those parts vendors that are connected within the CAPS community. For the last 12 months, or just over 12 months since 2019, it's been very much a fire and forget, in the sense that the body shop's management system puts the quote into CAPS, and then we send it to the parts vendors. It's very much a one-way street, and actually there's a whole manual process that takes over from that point forward. However, in June, we're going to be redeveloping CAPS to facilitate a two-way communication by the parts vendors and the body shops. So ultimately, what our end game is going to be for those body shop management systems that are willing to do the development is that they'll be able to send the quotes request to the parts vendor, but equally, and this is where the step changes, the parts vendor will be able to return the information electronically back to the body shop. So if you can imagine a scenario where you're sat as a body shop manager in front of your screen, you're not going to see the data going, because that's all done through the automated exchange process. But what you will see on return is you could have sent that parts quote to 4 or 5 different vendors at the same time. Those 4 or 5 different vendors are going to be able to return that information back to a single view within the body shop management system, which ultimately means that the body shop then can pick and play with regards to what parts they want from which vendors. It'll show them the category of parts, so OE, OES, non-OE, and recycle parts. So we think that's very much a game changer for increasing the functionality of CAPS, starting to become, helping those body shops become more transparent with the data that they're sending, but equally the efficiencies that's going to bring for both ends of the pipe. You can probably tell I'm very excited by the developments that are coming through, because for me this is starting to portray CAPS for what we designed it to be, which was communication conduit between the top and the bottom, and obviously bringing that supply chain into the benefit of that communication.
Great news. Good to hear, Kev. And thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you.
We've been really, really busy over the last few months. We've got a very strong operating model now. strong processes in place. Hopefully everyone will have seen, and probably you have as well, Mark, that we've got very strong social media presence. And that's really two-pronged, by the way. We're trying to go into two markets, really. We're trying to attract young people, obviously, and the repairer community. And quite often they're different social media platforms. So if we're going for young people, we'd be driving Instagram. If we're going for the repairer community, it would be more around LinkedIn and Facebook, etc. So we've been doing loads around that. Jennifer Evans has been doing a great job back at base in processing all of the applications that we get, and doing her best, our best, to place those into repairers. At the moment, we get an average of 2.5, 3 inquiries a week. And we've got at any one time a dozen inquiries that, if you like, are work in progress. So that's great. We're really, really close to that detail. The trustees and I, we have very regular calls. In fact, until very recently, they were every week, making sure that we're doing the right thing by these young people. We've been really, really busy. Our funds are in good shape, I'm pleased to say, because with the pandemic, that's candidly been a challenge. I think that's been pretty well documented. It's been busy, but it's been great. I think we're in. I know we're in a solid position to crack on, really. We all feel really confident at the moment. What we do need, though, is more young people interested and more repairers, but no doubt we'll come on to that.
We've really sort of just started to be a lot more focused in terms of what we want out of the charity. And as Steve said, we're lucky to have a really great team of trustees with Steve at the helm and Dave Sargent, Dean Lander, Guy Williams, Michael Golding, and obviously Jen putting in about 25 hours a week. It's all voluntary now, and as Steve says, we've really started meeting on a regular basis to understand exactly what we need to be doing. And of course, our mission, is still the same sort of thing. A sustainable pipeline of talent, and our goal out of that really is to ensure that the technician attrition in the industry is superseded or surpassed by the growth of new technicians or new talent coming into the business. So when I got involved in this, I sort of thought, well, that's easy. We just need to make it sound exciting for young people and just attract them in. But in some ways, that's actually the easy part of it, And if you talk to, Dave and Dean, they will say that it hasn't been that difficult finding people putting into repairers. It's the whole chain of events that we need to put together, and it's that whole strategy, right from creating that demand in the repair industry, which isn't actually there yet. We say we've got a problem, but a lot of our repairers don't actually understand that the benefit of bringing in an apprentice. So it's things like surfacing that financial benefit of having apprentices to repairers, also making sure that the quality is right. They understand that we've got the right repairers and the right quality of individual to go into them. So creating that demand is a huge part of it, because that actually isn't there at the moment. And then we've got this whole thing about apprentice attraction, which is where we sort of dovetail in with School of Thought, and we do our own stuff as well, promoting the sector and showing the big picture to the public about how great it is for people to join. But then a massive part of this, and the bit that Dean Lander is sort of heading up in his strategic part, is the apprentice and repairer support. So most repairers don't get engaged with this because it's just too daunting. If you've got a big group and you've got a good HR function, all those sort of things, it's all doable. But if you're a small repairer, kind of owner operator thing, as so many are, it's just so daunting to take on apprentices. So, ensuring that there's the adequate training providers there, that the repairers have got the guidance around funding, how to even start that journey, the step-by-step process of doing it, and then that sort of support all the way through, to ensure that there's somebody you can talk to all the way through when you could take on an apprentice. That's a big strategic area that we need to focus on as well. And, Dean has sort of started on that journey already. We can't do it all without any money. And, that's one of the big things Steve has been amazing at, but the great thing is now no money's going out the door for anything else. We're just all voluntary now, with the exception of, Jen, that does sort of, 25 hours a week. All the money goes to, helping the repairers and bringing in young guys.
What we really want to do is deliver on Mission Possible, which we circulated last year. Now, that's what we want to deliver to the market. If people go on the AutoRaise website, they'll see that on there. The challenge we have, AutoRaise, Board of Trustees, our affiliated repairers, everyone involved with it, and the market. The challenge we have is that in order to deliver on Mission Possible, we need to be placing around 15 apprentices a week into the industry. And as I said earlier, we're kind of 2.5, 3 inquiries a week at the moment. So we're a long way off that. But we've got the operations in place, the processes in place to be able to manage that volume. So yeah, we've really got to kind of put it up a notch, really, but we've got solid foundations to do that. We're in great shape. What I would, if I may, Mark, what I'd like to do is take this opportunity to ask a couple of favours, I guess, of the industry. One is, it would mean the world to us all if people could share our social media posts. Sounds dead simple, but it's a multiplier effect. So the more people that can share our social media posts, the better. And if possible, have a think about where you're sharing it to. So if you're someone that knows a lot of young people, then share it via Instagram, or ask your son or daughter to share it via Instagram. That'd be great. That'd be much appreciated, because a lot of these kids have got thousands of followers, and people like me and Chris have got 102, and one of them's his brother's dog. So
I've got a guttering company that's following me.
So it's about sharing that message. Again, in the repairer world, so the more people that can share it on LinkedIn and Facebook, that would be fantastic. Really would be good. And the bottom line is, classic chicken and egg situation that we've got is, we need affiliated repairers. In simple terms, repairers that will take on apprentices.
Okay, so Jordan, good to see you, mate. And could you give us a brief insight into Axiom and the developments within the business recently?
Yeah, so obviously we've had to deal with this last year that everybody else has dealt with in the motor trade. It was difficult for us because we opened the body shop last January, so we don't feel that we had a good run at getting up to what we see as our capacity. But we've had some developments in the meantime. Obviously, the priority was dealing with our staff and their well-being and financials and everything else during the pandemic. But I think the last time we spoke, when I was on one of your weekly webinars, I think it was September time, and I was not even quietly optimistic. I was very positive about us getting out of the lockdowns and business picking up again. And it was at that point we looked at moving on to our second site, because we was behind schedule at that point in terms of what we saw the rollout being, and obviously with the pandemic getting involved, it did set us back. But at that point, we thought, right, let's move on and let's get back to our plan. And we actually took another body shop over in Daventry, which is an nationwide site, and we went ahead and did the refurb of that place to get it up to our sort of expected standards, and then we got hit again with another lockdown. So it was even more difficult for us at that point, because we'd obviously had to fully staff the place, and with the whole furlough scheme and how that worked, we weren't eligible to furlough any of the new staff because they weren't on payroll. So yeah, we've been through everything, but we plan to keep developing, and if the government stick to their guns and promise us that was the last time that's going to happen, then yeah, we'll be cracking on this year with some more development, and once we get our feet on the ground, and we'll be back on it again.
Right, that's great to hear that you've got through that, and exciting plans ahead for the rest of 2021. Hopefully, all going accordingly. So the business, those who might not be too familiar with Axiom, so paint, dent, repair, PDR is kind of at the heart of the business, but that's certainly not all you do. And you've just obviously mentioned a new site there as well. So tell us a bit more about kind of the philosophy behind the business.
So if I go back to where Axiom originated, it originated in Colorado in the States. And what it was some of our colleagues in the paint and stent removal industry that focused on the hail repair, which is what we used to do and still do to this day. Ryan Hampton over in the States got together with a gentleman called Bill Park, who was the vice president of quite a big MSO over there. And they wanted to create what they called a hybrid body shop. And what that was bringing in some new technology, well, not new, but, the CIMAC technology, which has been around a while, but we were looking at their whole fixed line system. So not just a retrofitted gas catalytic drying system, it was a full system, and how that full system worked in the body shop in terms of workflow and pushing for faster repairs. And then another thing thrown in the mix was the PDR, which PDR from our world was always smaller damage or hail damage, and perfection every time. Whereas what they saw a gap was PDR working with the body shop to actually minimize damage or reduce size of damage, again, for speed, for quality of repair, because obviously in turn that means less filler, so there's less potential for rework and sinkage and things like that, alongside again the CIMAC drying equipment, which fully cures every part of the process. So once that vehicle's out of the booth, what you see is what you get, and that's a finished article. There's no additional curing over time like you get conventionally. So PDR, it's how we work it. I mean, we've obviously, because we've got a PDR background, we've got a lot of PDR technicians on our staff. So it gives us the opportunity to analyze how it needs to be worked within the body shop. We've got full-time staff here that deal with the PDR, and what we do is every vehicle that arrives on site gets fully assessed for or appraised for what method of repair it's going to go through, with PDR being the main focus. So anything that can be reduced, any panels that can be saved, and it's just a case of trying to save the actual size of damage, so we can reduce blends, or we can reduce, a 4-panel repair into a 2-panel repair. There's a lot of variance, and there's and we're still analysing it ourselves. We're the experts in PDR, but I'd be lying if I told you that we've found the exact recipe that it needs. There's still a lot of work to do, and that's how PDR technicians working with panel department mainly to find out where they need this damage to be, because we always run the risk of overworking it. PDR technicians are expensive, so we're not doing it as a cost-saving exercise. It's a time-saving exercise, which obviously, in the supply chain will reduce cost eventually.
It's a really interesting approach, and having recently visited your HQ in Peterborough, well, first and foremost, a very, very impressive place to be. Who can't fail to be impressed by it? But watching the technicians do exactly what you've just said there, really interesting to see how you go about it. So, you've already kind of mentioned, to start off with, the plans for 2021 possibly, but, are there any more plans for the site in Peterborough? Will that evolve? Is that becoming kind of a different kind of place for you as a business? And what can we expect from Axiom in the near future?
Well, Peterborough was built. Obviously, it's our benchmark site. Everything in the Peterborough site is oversized. The bays are oversized. We didn't want to focus too much on high volume through the site. We wanted to focus on the process. And obviously with the rollout of new sites, what we've tried to create is what we call Axiom in a box, where if we do decide to move to a new site, it's more like a turnkey operation. And part of the process will be onboarding through the Peterborough site. So new staff get to understand our, the equipment that we use, and they get to work with it, get to understand how we, the whole repair methods, from understanding PDR, understanding electric vehicles and how we work around them and everything else. Because what we try to create is, although obviously we're BSI approved, then we plan to for all of our body shops. So we're very strict on what qualifications each member of staff have, but at the same time, we try to create more hybrid roles. So different departments will help other departments if they're ever waiting for vehicles to be at a certain stage. And just having basic understanding of PDR. Every single member of our staff has got the hybrid and EV awareness, even front office, so they can talk to customers. So this place is built for that, really. We never want it to be over capacity. We want to build the model here and then take the model elsewhere that's a bit more conventional to normal body shops, but just using our methods. The only thing that we'll probably develop at Peterborough is what we're seeing more of than we expected was commercial vehicles. Obviously, the world's moving in that commercial. It's growing because of online shopping and everything else. So we may have to adapt ourselves to allow for that, because our current fixed line system doesn't work well with side loading, high top vehicles and things like that. So we may be expanding the site to allow for a commercial booth in the future. That's about it. But it's more about the expansion outside of Peterborough. That's where the focus will be.
Fantastic. Great insight, Jordan. Thank you very much for joining us. Really appreciate your time.
You're welcome, Mark.
Thank you for watching ARC360 On Demand. Brought to you in association with corporate partners BASF, BMS, CAPS, Copart, Emax, Integral, Enterprise Rent-A-Car, Merca, Nationwide Vehicle Recovery Assistance, S&G Response, and Sherwin-Williams, along with our partners, Aztec, the Green Parts Specialist, Endasa, Innovation Group, and Prasco UK. We look forward to you joining us next time at ARC360 On Demand.